Welcome to TISE Converge. I'm Amy Rush-Imber, Editor-in-Chief of Floor Covering Weekly, and I'm here today with Sandy Brajcich from Covering Broadway in Red Lodge, Montana, and Allyson Rawlings from Rawlings Flooring America in Kennewick, Washington. And we're here to talk about how you can, in a small footprint, do really big and beautiful things. So first, I'm going to ask Sandy and Allyson to tell us a little bit about their stores. Sandy?
Good morning. So we opened Covering Broadway in 2002 in Red Lodge, Montana. It was a ski shop before we turned it into Covering Broadway. We started with a 1,450 square foot little store, and now we of course have grown that store. But we have owned the store, my husband and I, for 19 years now, and we're just really proud to be a part of Main Street, Red Lodge.
Allyson?
Hey, I'm Allyson. We have Rawlings Flooring America here in Tri-Cities, Washington State. And we opened in 2008, right when the recession hit, which was the weirdest time to start a construction company. But we prevailed, and we also started in a really small showroom. It was about a 1,200 square foot footprint. And we have since built our own building, and we have 3,500 square feet of showroom space now and about a 1,500 square foot warehouse. We service all types of projects, residential, commercial. We do the flooring side, cabinetry, countertops, as well as the installation.
Thank you. So when you guys you started your stores, fairly recently, you're not decades and decades old. So when you started your stores, what was the strategy, especially, when you walked into a 1,400 or 1,200 square foot space, what was that focus?
Mark had grown up in a floor covering business in Great Falls, Montana. And so we were familiar with, of course, all the various types of flooring, but we also knew that it was very important to us to include window coverings in our footprint. And that was a very, very good decision early on. And of course, the learning curve was straight up. My degree was education, but we are teaching. We're teaching every day about flooring and window coverings, aren't we? But to that end, mostly I wanted to be able to purchase items that I would be able to have really good rep service from. So we started with local reps and this type of thing. And again, I had my family's store to help me with some of those choices.
Now, Sandy, I've been in your store. I've had that pleasure, and it's so warm and so inviting. How did you come about doing, I know that you've done some unique things with it, stringing lights on displays. How did that come about for you?
Red Lodge, Montana is at the base of the Beartooths. And so we are all about the great outdoors and enjoying big sky country, right? And so evergreens are not just a seasonal thing here. Twinkly lights are not just a seasonal thing here. We are very much a resort town, and our store just picks up all of that hominess, that vibe, that I think we've done quite a good job in mixing our textures. We put a log wall on one of our walls to remind people of the cabin feel and such. So we really just try to embrace that Montana feel, really.
Love that. Allyson, take us up through your strategy. And also I know that you've redesigned. So if you can sort of take us to how you started and then what that process of redesigning your showroom was.
Yeah, so originally my family opened the flooring company to complement their restoration company. They had been in business since 2003 with the restoration company, and they were finding that, every project needed flooring. And so it seemed like the perfect opportunity to kind of marry those two industries together. And so we started out very small. We had mainly a flooring offering. We did, tile and backsplash, but we didn't have anything else, the cabinetry side, the solid surface countertops. And it's since simply built from there as we've seen a larger and larger need of people who want a one-stop shop. And so we now offer just about everything at our store. But it's been a real growth process through the years. And I've been here almost since the beginning. I took about a 3-year gap. And when I came back, we were in our new facility, and I walked in and I didn't feel the flow that would feel very inviting and comforting. And so when they contracted me to redesign the showroom, and so that's where I started. We've got basically a large square rectangle to work with. And so I created different sections. And the way that we designed our showroom is how you would walk through the entire house, starting in the cabinet section, moving on to the tile for the kitchen and bath, and then moving through to the hard surface and finishing with your carpets. And it's really evolved. A showroom is never done, ever. And so we're always adding on different touches and customizing new niches within the store, building upon, we've got a tile section, but how can we better serve our clients? And so we created a backsplash wall. And, we brought in loose pieces and hand selected what we wanted to show them to give them more of that white glove service that we're really well known for.
That's wonderful. Now, Sandy, you cover window treatment. So you stepped a little outside of flooring as well. How did that come about for you? And does that help you, to Allison's point, being, sort of a one-stop shop? Does that allow you to be a part of, more a part of a renovation?
Absolutely. And sometimes the customer that's needing flooring will discover the window covering displays and be like, oh, we do need window coverings, or vice versa. They'll come in for the window covering and think, oh, I didn't know you carried hardwoods, or I didn't know, So the way that started actually was when Mark and I decided to open the store. We spoke with his sister and brother-in-law, who are now running the family store in Great Falls. And Tom said, the best thing you can do for that store is to offer window coverings. And of course, like I said, I didn't have experience in that. I knew I liked sales, loved people. But honestly, that was one of the best choices we could have made. The small footprint required for at least the amount of sampling we have for Hunter Douglas and Graber is maybe 250 square feet. And the bang for that buck it's really good. It's really good. And I became good at it. And we do, it is a learning curve, but the more you do, the more you see, the more measures you make, it comes along. Like you were saying, Allison, we kind of grow with it sometimes. Yeah. And yesterday, this is so fun. Yesterday, I was at a little gal's house and we've done all of our flooring, and she's ready for the window coverings. And we had worked together for a lot, over the months. And I just said, I want you to want this one. And I didn't even realize how bold that was. And she looked at me and she just cracked up and she goes, I just love working with you. You just tell me what I need to know, because they don't have that confidence. They don't know, right? So we just laughed. And of course, that's the one she wants to go with. And then I know it's going to look good. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, for you, Allison, because you're Flooring America, did that help your process into getting into cabinets? And I know that CCA has the kitchen and bath offering as well. Was that beneficial to you in getting into other areas, having that alignment?
Oh, absolutely. They've been monumental in our growth. Being part of such a large co-op and having the resources as well as the support. I can call Flooring America and get answers almost instantaneously. They offer displays that are already private labeled. They have incredible marketing that we have taken advantage of. And it's really helped guide how our future is going and kind of what we want to see down the road with what we're showing, what we're offering. Because like I said, we hand select. I go and I meet with the manufacturers, and I work with them to say, you know, this is what we do well as a store. Every store has their particular niche that they do really well at. And that's what you really have to focus on, is what is my niche? What do we excel at as a store? And for us, it is that full experience, that white glove one-stop shop, and really giving them, I want them to have the most fun they can have here while picking out their products. And I want it to be easy. You know, construction is a very stressful industry, and the best thing I can do for my client is to make it fun and an enjoyable process. And so having the right products that are core to Flooring America, and then as well as having other aligned manufacturers to select from who are already approved through Flooring America is just, it's a huge resource to have for us. So that's definitely part of our guiding ship in the night.
You bring up a good point about, you know, first of all, knowing your niche, understanding who your customer is, and then the whole selection process. And for you, Sandy, it's a little different. You're independent. So how do you go about deciding what goes on your floor and what's going to serve your customer best? What's that process like for you?
Well, I'll tell you, we attend surfaces, of course, and that shows me the big picture, the really big picture. But Red Lodge is very, I feel like we are a completely different niche. We are looking for texture. We're looking for multi-tones. We're looking for a little more rugged. I hadn't sold a Saxony carpet for years, literally, when our coastal states were setting those trends. We were still in those years, it was a lot of frisé and the multi-tone, and now we're making our way to Saxony. But I just have to know what will sell in our area. And that was why I have a lot of pride in that we're not a part of a buying group with such a small showroom. We put an addition on in 08, and Allyson, I got a kick out of you saying, I mean, that was a stressful time, right? And our addition took us to about 2,000 square feet of showroom space. And then I have an office and such on top. But I'm just saying that we just really needed to know what sells in Red Lodge to fill that space, that new space that we put in. And basically, I just chose from texture, feel, quality. I'm a nylon carpet girl, so no rep needed to come through and show me poly. I mean, I can count the rolls of poly I've bought on one hand. We just know what works in our area. And it's such a small area. We're drawing from not that large of a space, you know.
For you, Allyson, what trends are driving your market right now? What are the things that you're seeing that consumers are really gravitating to?
I would say cleaner, but warmer tones. When I worked in California a couple years ago, the European style was really making waves. And when I moved back to Washington State, you know, we're typically about 3 years behind the trends in our area. And so I wanted to bring those trends to us when they were hitting the markets. You know, typically they're hitting New York and LA first, and then they trickle through to everybody else. And so it's very important to me to stay on top of the trends and reading magazines like Floor Covering Weekly, and staying up with, you know, what the top designers are doing. I follow my favorite designers on Instagram. I am constantly looking at new trends that are coming through, you know, and I think just having a really good understanding of what the classics are as well, because that's what everything is building off of, are those classic trends. And so for me, understanding design is really important, and that's how we train all of our staff here. Even down to the project managers. It's good for them to have a basic understanding of how interior design works. And I think if you're staying on top of the trends, even just a little bit, once a week look through, is going to make you better at what you do every day in selecting those products that you're going to be showing to your clients. And one of my philosophies is that display paying its rent? Because if it's not paying its rent, what's it doing on my floor? So I am constantly going through our numbers and seeing how much is being sold off of displays through manufacturers. And, if something's not performing, I'm talking to our staff and I'm asking them if they've got input. Is there a reason that you're not taking clients here? Are clients having feedback on that particular display? Maybe they're just not liking what's being put out. And we make a decision if it stays or goes. So, I'm constantly listening to what my staff is saying. And then I'm also visiting other stores. I've got a lot of great friends in the flooring industry. And I think that was one of the greatest things I've ever done, is visited other stores to see what their process is, because there's so much great information that you can glean off other successful business owners. So I'm just constantly listening and learning.
And you said you go to see the competitors in the area. What would you say your competitive edge is?
I think our biggest competitive edge is our environment. What I've seen at a lot of stores is that it's very busy, it's really chaotic. It feels like a little bit of anxiety when you walk in the door, because everybody's running around to and fro. And for me, we spend so much of our day here. I wanted it to be as zen as possible. I want my client to come in and be like, man, I've had a bad day. And I can be like, great, here's your glass of wine. Let's see what kind of design we can come up for your master bathroom. Let's make this fun. It shouldn't be stressful, because we're going to have those down the road. They are going to come up at some point during the process. But if I can make my client happy and enjoy the process, that is the best thing to me. And I have had the best clients changing that philosophy to just making it fun, making it as easy as possible for them, and just enjoying the process of it all.
I love that hospitality idea sort of that you have. And Sandy, you have that too. You have this great little kitchen in the, towards the back of the store. And I know you connect with your community. Sometimes you have events in your store. How do you uniquely serve your market's customers?
I think that probably the main thank you event that Covering Broadway hosts is during the Christmas stroll. And that is a town event, but we have certainly not used the stroll weekend, which is the first weekend of December every year, except this year. We have not used that as an opportunity so much to sell or to even show product, but to just invite that community and surrounding communities in to say thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Little things, we serve all kinds of homemade goodies that we make, the girls and I make. We don't purchase that. There's beer and wine, and there's live music in our small store. We have a live music. It's just such a wonderful way to say thank you. But the other way to say thank you just throughout the years by supporting so many of the nonprofits. And we've been so blessed in this little town, no traffic light, one little roundabout, to do the volume that we do. Mark and I just feel so blessed that we can give back to this community. And when you do that, it just keeps rolling right back to you, because these people who the library is their passion, or the wildlife sanctuary, or the hospital, I can go on and on. But when that's their passion and they see that you are donating your hard-earned money to their cause, it just fuels that wheel, again and again and again. So that's made a big difference for us. And to serve on community boards. I'm just timing out now. I've been on our chamber board for 6 years, served on a bank board for 14 years. Our church, we're active in our church, and we just try to give back, not so much so that people would ever see us, but we serve in the ways that we feel are important, you know, the things that we're passionate about.
And for a small footprint store, Sandy, you do really huge installs, right? Can you
We
talk
do.
a little bit about who your customer is?
So Mark is the retired superintendent of schools for Red Lodge. And so he, just until 5 years ago, 6 years ago, he was full-time with our school district. And now he is full-time with Covering Broadway. But you can imagine when your career has been in schools, he has all kinds of contacts. So now that he is retired, we can full on work for our local district, and we work for specifically a large district right outside of Billings. We've done a lot of work for them. So it would surprise people that this little town would offer a flooring store, mom and pop owned, that can do the range of commercial work that we can pull off. And your installation, it's just everything. I mean, yes, we're great at design, Allyson, and we're great with people and we love it. I can just see that in you, that you just love the people and the joy that that brings. And all of that's great. But if we don't have an installer to put that floor in perfectly, appropriately, no callbacks, which, you know, occasionally we all get. But we have the install, which has also been a wonderful gift for right at this given time, because that can change, as we all know. But right now we were super proud of our installation. And so all of those things can equate to a pretty good, successful install.
Thank you. Now, Allyson, you serve a lot of different business segments. Who's your primary customer? And what is your outreach like for getting your customers?
I would say our primary customer is typically that mid to high end range, typically working with larger remodels and high end custom new construction. Our outreach is, well, how we get our business, 90% referral. You know, we don't do a ton of marketing, but I would say the marketing that we do is a little bit more kind of ninja marketing, as I like to call it. You know, I'm a huge believer in being face to face with people, which going through a pandemic is really tough because we can't do that really right now. And normally my schedule is booked up with just meeting with people and having coffee or taking somebody out for drinks or lunch. And that has really changed how I've been looking at our marketing. And I've gotten very involved with our local magazines that are, you know, just focused on our little town. And that's been really wonderful. I've met incredible people that way. And, you know, in my mind, it's, you never know who you're going to meet. And typically when I am going into, you know, some sort of a networking event, I do kind of have in my mind who I want to meet with or be introduced to. But I would say the other way that we get business is working with our local home builders association, and just getting involved in your community, I think is the biggest thing that you could ever do. Whether you're, you know, the manager, the business developer, or a budding salesperson, getting involved in your community and the community events is the best advice I could give anybody, because the amount of incredible people that you will meet along the way is it's invaluable. You know, you can use that anywhere you go, you know, whether you stay in the industry or not. But that's how we do our marketing, is we get in front of people, and right now it's through Zoom meetings, but face to face and that human interaction is the best thing to do. You know, we don't do a ton of print, TV, radio, because it's just not as personal. You know, we're not a huge corporate conglomerate that has an ever expanding budget for those things. So we are careful with our dollars, and we want to make them stretch as far as possible. So, you know, throwing different events and such is another great way to get new business in there.
You mentioned the pandemic. It's hard to have conversations without talking about it. Everything has changed so much, and you bring up a great point that, you know, working with customers, it's a very personal, intimate thing, and yet it's not something we can do. How have you navigated this sort of very rocky, ever-changing terrain that we're living through right now? And what has the impact been on your store?
Well, when the shutdown first happened in March, that was really tough. In Washington State, construction was actually deemed non-essential. And so we were one of the few states that did have to shut down. And we had to lay off the majority of our staff. And it was very, very uncertain. We didn't see a recovery until June hit. And so it's very, very quiet from March until June. And then all of a sudden it just exploded. And it was like everybody came out of the woodwork. They're like, we've been looking at our hideous bathroom for too many months. And I can't stand looking at the stain my children left anymore. And we got to get new carpet. And it was just a madhouse. And thankfully, I'm very, very grateful for our footprint at our store because everybody was already spaced out about 10 to 15 feet away from each other with their desks. And most of our design appointments are by appointment only as is. And so it was really easy to be able to space people out if they did want to come into the store and look at products. So we didn't have too much of a change on that side of things. You know, if it had been a larger store and we had, 50 employees, that would have been really difficult because we possibly would have had to make cuts to people just to keep, a certain amount of people in the store at once and to maintain that social distancing. So I'm grateful that we have our footprint because it actually served us very, very well through this pandemic.
Sandy, how about for you? How have things changed and evolved for you?
We were quiet for probably that first week, and we were always considered essential in our industry, and Montana didn't close that down. And so we were able to stay open, and masks are just absolutely a necessity. And again, it's kind of like Allyson was saying, we aren't usually so busy with so many people that we can't easily distance and of course have the mask also. But most people will think to make an appointment, not all, because they have no idea of how busy we actually are. And it's myself, a full-time employee who's been with us for 9 years. And then a year and a half ago, we hired a half-time employee. So there's just 2.5 employees in there. And given that, we just, we try and space them, and hopefully they're making an appointment to come in.
Thank you. You guys are both so great. I could talk with you all day long. I know we're getting to our last few minutes. Any parting advice for a retail store that maybe is looking to, either change their footprint or redesign? Allyson, you had some advice about that you were saying, if I could tell you one thing, but what would your parting advice be for other retailers to really find their niche, be unique, and set up shop?
Well, understanding your niche is the biggest thing. There's so many segments to the flooring industry, and understanding what you want to service is the biggest thing. Before we were servicing all different types of things and it wasn't really serving us properly, and we weren't able to service our clients the best of our abilities. And so we had to take a good hard look in the mirror and say, well, what kind of clients do we want to have? Who do we want to service? And I think that's the best question you could ask yourself. And then from there, I love doing little personal touches in our showroom. We have a mural in our builder studio that I hired somebody from Portland to come and paint. I had a custom shelving created from steel so that we could have our individual backsplash pieces put on. And it's been developing over the years on how we lay that out. But find your niche, customize your showroom to what you want it to look like, and get great relationships with your manufacturers, because what you show is so important. And having that backup with a manufacturer is just key to your success. It's all about relationships in this industry, because it is competitive, it is tough, there will be bad days, but if you've got good relationships surrounding you, you will be just fine.
Thank you. Sandy, how about you? last thoughts?
We have just always felt that people buy from people. The product itself can be shopped easily in Billings, which is 60 miles from us. And so we just really, really want to get that personal touch to it and set ourselves apart. And that is mostly done through relationship, listening. What are they hoping for? What are they looking for? And just hoping that the comfortable feel, the welcome feeling of our store is just a little different than what another shop might offer. And the kitchen was one of our best plans ever.
And the little potbelly stove. I love that too.
Big easy chair. Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining me here today at TISE Converge. And I look forward to seeing you both soon. Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in to our TISE Converge panel. Welcome back to Sandy and Allyson. Thank you for coming back with us today to answer some questions.
Thanks
If you have any questions for our panelists, please use the right top hand of your screen. There's a chat box. Send the questions in on your chat box, and I'll read them to the ladies, and we'll get your questions answered. And while we're waiting for you to do that, we were just catching up on the new year and new design wish lists and things that we're going to do. And Sandy, we talked about your desire to change the floors out in your store. Tell us what you would do.
I would absolutely love to change out the main level when you walk into our store. We have tile for the most part now, and I do think that it would be easy enough to tear out. It was installed on chart paper years ago, so we can pop it off easily. We can put new tile in, but it is daunting to me thinking about tearing down the displays that are up now to put the new product in. And we're busy, so who wants to take that time? But I would love, love, love new tile on my main level. Yeah.
And Allyson, you're right in the middle of a design project. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have a couple going on right now, and one of them is our kitchen / our relaxation room. I just finished this wall behind us that was painted a deep green, something that's very calming and zen. And we're going to be putting up a faux plant wall and just a place for books, a cozy couch in here, so salespeople or anybody could come in and relax after they're done with a consultation. And then we've also got a new cabinetry section going in that I'm very excited about. You know, I think as everybody knows, a showroom is never complete. It is always a work in progress. And, you know, as design trends change, we want to maintain and continue updating with those trends.
Are there any trends that you're looking at now that you see emerging, whether it's bringing product into your store or the layout at your store, how you work with your customer? Are there any trends that you each are following right now?
I would say having design spaces that are situated apart from the other design zones because of COVID and just being very aware of that. People still want to shop in a store, especially when they're looking at products for their home, something that is very permanent. They want to come in and see and touch and feel. And so having a comfortable design area that they don't have to be around other clients is very key. You know, that's something that we've become very aware of, and thankfully our showroom is set up like one giant box. So even us salespeople are very spaced apart. We're easily 10 to 15 feet apart at all times. So that's just something that we've been very aware of.
We have a question from one of our viewers. What advice do you give manufacturers to help grow the relationship between store and manufacturer? And Sandy, do you want to take this one first?
Sure, I will. I feel like the presence of our reps is just of utmost importance. And I think sometimes people need to remember that we also, as the store purchaser, store owner, we buy from people. And so we are the customer. We are the customer to that vendor. And we just want to be treated with the utmost respect also. So I feel like, especially in Red Lodge, Montana, if I can have a rep showing up on a regular basis, they will have my ear. They definitely will have my ear.
Allyson, how about for you?
I completely agree with you, Sandy. One of the things I tell new reps when they come to our store is answer your phone. It's
Oh,
very
yeah.
simple, but answer your phone or at least call us back within an hour or two. Because
Mhm.
typically, when we're calling them or shooting them a text, it's information that we need quickly. Not all reps, especially right now during COVID, they're not able to visit your store. So continuing to have that presence and that relationship is really key for us. I set up meetings one-on-one with my reps to make sure that we're always on the same page and that we're both benefiting each other, because it is that relationship. Relationships that are one-sided don't typically work out long term. So we got to have that mutual respect for each other.
You both have such successful businesses, but very different businesses. Can you give us a little bit of your marketplace, your demographics that you serve, and your competition landscape? Sandy, can you start us off with a little about covering Broadway in Red Lodge, Montana?
Yes. So we are 60 miles south of Billings, and that is the home of our competition. We don't have another competitive flooring store in Red Lodge per se, but the competition is very real as it's only 60 miles away. And in Montana, 60 miles just isn't that far. Okay. So we do not have a traffic light. I always like to tell people that we have a roundabout, which we think is kind of cool. We are a town of 3,300 people, but we do serve the Billings community. There are several repeat customers and a builder there that we work with consistently. We also serve surrounding communities in surrounding counties here in Montana. Mhm.
Allyson, how about you?
So I live in Kennewick, Washington, and we are also known as the Tri-Cities, Kennewick, Richland, and Pasco. And there are approximately 300,000 people who live within the three cities. We have a lot of brick and mortar competition within the area. And I think one of the most important things is to differentiate yourself. When I came back on with the company 3 years ago, it was really important for us to define what we wanted our clientele to look like. That was one of the best decisions that we made because it helped us to cut out displays that weren't serving our clientele the best that they could. And it made us better at what we do because we could really hone in on servicing that key clientele. We typically service that mid to high end realm. Of course, we'll service anybody, but that is our specialty, is the mid to high end range. And I consider us an interior design boutique. We try and have that white glove service, and we always have wine on hand to offer to our clientele because, as everybody knows, looking for flooring or countertops for a home is a little bit stressful for some. So, we want to make it a fun experience, and because, we're with these clients for typically a long amount of time, and making sure that they feel comfortable and that we're all having a good time is key for us.
So we only have a couple more minutes left, but we are, when we first got together in the panel, it was the end of 2020. We're now in the beginning of 2021. How'd your year get started off? How are things in your store going, Sandy?
We're delighted and honestly thankful. So last year we had hoped to hold our numbers that we had had in 19, and we were able to even come out stronger than we were in 19. So for 21, if our store in Red Lodge, Montana, base of the Beartooth Mountains, if we could hold what we did last year, I would be so tickled. We're very thankful, and my January is strong, and we're just going to keep plugging away. We're going to keep working and enjoying what we do.
Allyson?
I completely agree. Our 2020 actually shaped up much better than expected. Here in Washington State, things are still in a bit of a lockdown. And so, to see the numbers at the end of the year, we were very excited to see how up we were from 2019.
Mm-hmm.
2021, I would say what's changed for us is just the mood. It's been, everybody's just so excited to be in a new year and have new possibilities. And it's really evident between just even us as the staff and our clients walking in the door. And there just seems to be this new invigoration of excitement for what is to come. And we're really holding that positivity strong because 2020 was a heck of a year for everybody. And we just want to see everybody happy and succeed.
Well, thank you both so much for dialing in again today. And thank you everyone for watching this Converge panel. Thank you so much and have a fantastic day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.